Let's dive into the discussions shaping the nation.
And I do really enjoy listening to members of the government throw their hands up in the air and say, God, if only someone had done something. And indeed, more lessons to be learned and more new pupils sitting opposite us, we see. Now, let's hope that lessons are learned. They certainly haven't been up until now. And perhaps the leaders in your government will listen to what their own backbenchers have been saying, although previous experience would not give me much hope of that. Cahirlock, I want to pay tribute to the men and the women who have been on the front line of dealing with the aftermath of Storm Éowyn. The council workers, the emergency services, the ESB, Éowyn workers, healthcare workers delivering care in absolutely appalling circumstances, and a special word of thanks to those volunteers who manned and womaned the community hubs and those who opened up their hotels, their B&Bs, their coffee shops and other businesses to help their neighbours in need. My mentor and very good friend Patricia King used to talk about the threshold of decency. It is the job of a functioning society, and in particular the Department of Social Protection, to be that safety net. And this is the question that the government now need to ask themselves in order to evaluate their response. When the chips were down and when people sought help, did they get help, or did they get a list of excuses and a comprehensive explanation of why they had to wait? For most of the hundreds of thousands impacted, the immediate issue has been resolved, but for thousands the nightmare continues. That's in the here and now, but in truth the reverberations of this will be felt, in particular in the west of Ireland, for years to come. And when the opposition, such as TDs like my colleague Claire Curran and others, make practical suggestions, they should be acted on. So we see the Department of Education provide support for generators for schools, but nobody thought of creches. Please, make that make sense. You know, parents can't go to work. They're having to use up their annual leave. I've spoken to parents whose annual leave is now going to be depleted, and that's it now till Christmas for them, because they've used it having to care for their kids, because nobody had the foresight to think, well, kids in school will need a generator, but kids in creches, why not? Please, please, please do make that make sense. Likewise, when you have a supports when you structure your supports in a way that mean that they have to be claimed back rather than paid up front, what does that say to people who don't have the money up front? I was very struck by the words of a young woman who lives in Athenry. Emma is a student, a journalist and a campaigner and a wheelchair user. She told me that she never felt so forgotten in her life. The power outage meant that she could not charge her power wheelchair. Emma explained that the power chair is comfortable and safe for her because it gives her body the support that she needs. Without it, she is in constant discomfort. Added to this is the additional pain caused to her poor bones by the cold. This means she has to leave her family home to go to relatives where there might not be as much accessibility as she has at home. She couldn't go to college. Her whole life depends on being able to access power. So as I said, there is a threshold of decency, a minimum standard that it is the duty of the state to uphold. And I do not think that this happened in Emma's case. I do not think that the threshold of decency was upheld. Emma's power came back yesterday, thankfully, but the feeling of being forgotten will stay with her for a very, very long time. Emma says that she does not believe that enough was done for vulnerable people to prepare for this storm and the impact of it. The minimum threshold of decency should be upheld, and when the government fall below that, they should rightly accept responsibility, apologise to those they let down and show us with their actions that they have learned. That none of this has happened is not surprising, but it is nonetheless shameful.
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.